Throughout history, the word retreat conjures images of defeat, a battered army fleeing, backs turned in shame, leaving the field to the victors. Yet there are rare moments when a retreat becomes something altogether different, a jaw-dropping display of courage, leadership, and endurance. When an army is so far from home, so outnumbered and outgunned, that simply surviving becomes legend. Such was the fate of 10,000 Greek mercenaries in the heart of the Persian Empire, whose astonishing journey, Xenophon's March, turned utter disaster into an epic remembered for centuries. It begins in Athens, a city at the crossroads of ideas and power. In the waning years of the Peloponnesian War, Greece is a land teeming with war-hardened men. Among them is Xenophon, a student of the great philosopher Socrates. Xenophon receives a letter from his friend Proxenus, an offer of adventure, glory, and pay in the service of Cyrus the Younger. Ostensibly, the mission is to campaign in Pisidia to quash rebellion. But soon, rumors swirl that the true aim is far more dangerous: to overthrow Artaxerxes II, king of the massive, wealthy Persian Empire. For this, Cyrus needs the finest fighting men in the world, the Greek hoplites, famed for their discipline and ferocious swordplay. Over 10,000 Greek mercenaries gather from every corner of the old world. Spartans and Athenians, Arcadians and Thessalians, each with their own customs, dialects, and scars from Greece's endless wars. At their head stands Clearchus of Sparta, strict, decisive, and fearless. Young Xenophon, keen for adventure and counsel, seeks advice from Socrates. The wise philosopher, with a keen sense for fate, advises him to consult the oracle at Delphi, not just to ask how to go, but first, whether to go at all. Yet Xenophon, swept up in ambition, asks merely about the proper sacrifices to ensure good fortune. Socrates, grave and perhaps already mourning his student's choices, provides instructions but senses the risk. The motley Greek army marches into the east in the spring of 401 BCE, crossing rivers, mountains, and arid plains into the heart of Asia. For months, they remain in the dark about their true mission. When, at last, Cyrus confides they are to face the king himself, turmoil erupts. This is not what they enlisted for. Yet Cyrus's charisma, promises of pay, and the lack of easy escape persuade them to follow him deeper still into foreign lands. The fateful day arrives on the dusty plains near Cunaxa, north of Babylon. Artaxerxes' army, colossal and resplendent, stretches across the horizon, the largest force in the known world, with thousands of cavalry, tens of thousands of infantry, and all the pride of empire. The armored Greek phalanx forms on one flank. Ordered, resolute, unbroken, the Greeks charge headlong, their bronze shields gleaming, pushing back waves of Persian troops. While the Greeks crush their immediate foes, tragedy unfolds elsewhere. Seeing his brother exposed, Cyrus, in a moment of reckless ambition, spurs his horse and rushes at Artaxerxes. Amid the chaos, Cyrus is felled by a javelin. His lifeblood spills out on Persian soil. The rebellion is snuffed out with a single thrust. In the tumult of victory and defeat, the Greek mercenaries find themselves suddenly leaderless, employerless, and surrounded by hostility on all sides. Persian envoys, led by Tissaphernes, arrive with honeyed words, guaranteeing safe passage home if the Greeks trust them and surrender their leaders for talks. It's a ruse. Clearchus and the highest-ranking officers are seized, chained, and executed. Overnight, the Greeks lose both their purpose and their leaders. Camped deep in Assyria, hostile territory unknown, with winter approaching and escape routes blocked, panic threatens to rip them apart. But in the darkest night, Xenophon receives a vision, a thunderbolt from Zeus, illuminating his home, firing his spirit with resolve. Rousing himself, he gathers the remaining officers. Calmly, clearly, he lays out the dire choices. Persians, he says, cannot be trusted. Survival now depends on discipline, on finding new leaders, on the hope of reaching the sea and home. At dawn, The men elect new captains, placing their hopes in Xenophon and other strong-willed survivors. Xenophon's genius is not just in tactics or bravery, it's in unity. He reminds the men of what still makes them strong, the discipline of their phalanx, the terror they inspire, their superior arms and tactics. With purpose restored, the Greeks burn unnecessary baggage, form a tight, hollow square with camp followers and wounded in the center, and march north towards the Black Sea, the lifeline to sanctuary. Every mile is a test. Persian horsemen harry the flanks, raining arrows, never daring close combat. Xenophon counters with innovation. Slingers and archers, sourced from within their ranks, a tiny cavalry generated from surviving horses. Discipline and speed become their shield. Crossing the mighty Tigris, hand in hand through churning water, they enter unfamiliar, dangerous territory, the mountains of the Carduchians, a fierce hill tribe who despise outsiders. For 7 murderous days, the Greeks edge through narrow defiles, boulders and arrows tumbling from above, fighting through with bloody cost. Winter's fury greets them in Armenia. Blizzard winds, temperatures plummeting below freezing, endless blinding snow. Frostbite and hunger stalk the ranks, some collapse, too exhausted or dispirited to rise. But Xenophon keeps them moving, driving them ever onward with words and force of will. Salvation comes as the Greeks find shelter in mountain villages, sharing food, sometimes through barter, sometimes by necessity, always mindful not to provoke new enemies. Across battered plains and snow-choked mountain valleys, through ambushes from the Tyochians and Chalybes, the Greeks march on. They fight when needed, negotiate when wise, ever pressing towards the north. Each challenge is met with cunning and resolve, building bridges of shields, improvising tactics, rationing the last of their bread. At last, 5 months after the disaster at Cunaxa, a party of scouts crests a northern ridge, Mount Thechis. The cry breaks from their lips, passes back through the ranks like wildfire. Thalata, Thalata, the sea. The Black Sea's shimmering expanse lies ahead. After 1,000 dangers, they have found the route home. Reaching the Greek city of Trapezus, the survivors feast, pray, and give thanks. But for most, the journey is not yet finished. Along the Black Sea's rugged coast, they fight fresh battles for food and safe passage, cross rivers and skirmish with new foes. Some are forced to seize Byzantium itself when cheated of wages by the city's governor. In time, though battered and thinned, most make it back to Greek lands or embark on new quests. Xenophon, the philosopher-turned-general, returns to Athens. He pens Anabasis, his account of the ordeal, a masterwork of leadership and resilience. Centuries later, the boy Alexander pores over these pages, drawing inspiration for his own conquest of Persia. The March of the 10,000 endures as more than a tale of war. It is a study in determination, innovation, and leadership under relentless adversity. Military leaders from Dunkirk to the Chosin Reservoir, and scholars in every age, have turned to this journey for insight into the human spirit's ability to endure. Defeats and setbacks can often reveal strengths greater than outright victory. In the ashes of failure, Xenophon's Greeks forged one of history's greatest triumphs, not of conquest or spoils, but of survival and return. Sometimes, just making it home is the greatest story of all. And in that, the March of the 10,000 stands forever as a testament to what courage, unity, and self-belief can achieve, even when all the gods and furies seem arrayed against you. If you enjoyed this historical journey, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Don't miss our upcoming content.